Hi everybody, Hellcracks here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to be delving into the Grim Reaper. Well, it's a Comstar mech. It's 55 tons, and it's fairly capable. It does some good work when it's in the field. Now, it is a 580, so typical with a 55 tonner that you throw it in. It does have XL engines, which is kind of a not so great, but it's that era where everything gets an XL engine. It's kind of more of a glass cannon, I guess. It carries around 10 double heat sinks, which is decent, and it carries around 185 pounds. Well, 185 points of armor, which is 10.5 tons, and that is ferrofibrous. So it's carrying around a good, nice chunk of armor. Well, if you got XL engines, you might as well put a lot of armor on those things. Now, weapons-wise, it has an LRM-10 in the right torso with a 2 tons of ammo, which is not bad. And it has an SRM-6 in the left arm with a ton of ammo. You don't really need more than that. That's comparable to, you're carrying around a little bit more operating time than your LRM-20. So, and even if you go 15 turns, the odds are you haven't shot that LRM or the SRM that many times. So you're still going to have a lot of ammo left with it. And it has in the right arm an ER large laser, an anti-missile system in the center torso with a ton of ammo. Well, the ammo is in the right torso, and then you have which is kind of interesting here. We have a medium pulse laser in the left arm, and then case in the left torso. All right. It's like, why don't you have the ammo for the anti-missile system parked with the ammo of your... Well, you got 1 ton... Well, you got one thing of case. I just noticed this. It's like, wow, okay. That's not too smart. It's like, you'd think you'd have all your ammo in the torso that has the case, but that's not the case. Yeah, that's bad. So there's a design flaw I can see right off the bat. I did never notice that until just now. Wow. Okay. That might explain why this thing blew up on many different occasions I've seen him play. It's like you got case, which is supposed to protect the pilot from getting totally decimated when this mech goes up. You got case in the left torso. Why isn't it in the right torso? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Now, the Grim Reaper is, it's got that 5.8 movement, doesn't have jump jets, which in some ways is kind of a, sort of a problem, but not necessarily a no joy moment. The one thing about it is you got an LRM-20, and then you have that ER large laser. So out between 19 and 20, you're going to be able to punch out, that LRM-20 and that ER large. And then even if you do run with this thing, you're not going to heat up. So that's the one thing about it with the 10 double heat sinks. It's not necessarily a mech that's going to heat up very much. Well, if you got hit infernals, that's a different story. But, that's situational. Then if you do get close, it's one of those things where, okay, maybe I'm not going to fire the LRM, and I'll just kick in the SRM and the medium pulse laser to make up the difference when it comes to the damage. That's not necessarily... Yeah, you're actually going to be doing less damage than the LRM-20, so... There you are. It's kind of interesting. You might have been better off with, instead of a medium pulse laser, gone with a standard medium laser, or by this time you can put the ER medium laser on. But no, that comes out 59 or 58. Nor here nor there. But the interesting thing is that, you know, you do have some close range stuff, so you can go crit hunting with that S-arm if you want to. And the odds are you're going to hit with 4, most likely. That's the common number, is 4 missiles. So, you're going to do 8 points of damage. And now you could, if you walk with this thing or even run with this thing, and you fire the LRM and the large laser, you still have 4, so you could fire the pulse laser or the SRM and just go up on the heat scale by 4, and then if you're thinking about doing a drive-by with this mech, you know, then you can move elsewhere and maybe cool off for a turn or something to get yourself back down to 0. But having 4 heat isn't a deal breaker. I always play with my mechs going up to 4 heat, and then I figure out how to drop it down again to 0. I don't like going above 4 because, you know, you're taking a movement pip loss is one sure way of causing yourself some havoc, getting some damage on yourself. You know, that could be the difference between, you know, being a 5.8 versus a 4.6 mover. And anytime you know that a mech that slows down has a tendency to start dying easier. All right. Now, the times I've used this or seen it being used, it's more or less being used as a fire support mech, sitting on a little more range, and it's kind of acting like a better designed Griffin. Because you know, you got the LRM-20 putting rounds down range and doing some good damage, and then followed up by the 8-point shot with that ER. And it can, if it can park itself in some like heavy woods or something like that, and it doesn't have to move, you know, that's even better. You know, that's the one thing you have to look at. It's always situational. Now, there are a few different versions of this mech out there, a couple more. There's the PR30, which is made by the Word of Blake. All hail the Word of Blake. And this mech has been slightly more modified. It carries around an ER-PPC as its primary weapon. The LRM-15 has been downgraded with Artemis to an LRM-15 from a 20. And it had the medium pulse laser replaced with an ER medium laser. Okay, that makes sense to me. That's like a 1-for-1. How I would do it. And then you got that extra tonnage. You have a C3 slave on board, and it got rid of the anti-missile system, because a lot of times the anti-missile system is great, but there's been a lot of times I've gone through games where no one ever shot missiles at me, and I'm just carrying around extra tonnage. And, well, you know, you could have used that tonnage to some better effect. You know, that's 2.5 tons. That could be a difference of having an ECM suite parked with you with tag, or, you know, a little more useful, or and even an ECM with a medium laser, you know, or even a C3 slave system instead. Or it's like this one. You know, that's kind of an interesting one. I have used this one before many times, and this one works pretty good. This is very similar to your Griffin and how it operates, but it's also being parked inside one of those lances, you know, that you have with the Word of Blake, where they're running the C3 with everything. And this guy sort of, a lot of times I've found it would be acting as the eyes and ears for a lance. You know, you got everybody else parked behind or running, and this guy's the heavy scout, you know, that role. And that's kind of like how it's been used many times in the game. And then we have the PR31 of the Grim Reaper. It carries an ER-PPC as its primary weapon. Also carries an LRM-20 with Artemis. And also carries an ER medium laser and an ER small laser for up close, along with the C3 slave. And it also carries triple strength Myrmer. So if you cook this thing up a little bit hot, which in this case, if you're wearing carrying around triple strength, you are probably going to be heating this one up. And I have done this before with this mech, where you heat it up and you get in real close because you're wanting to get into close with somebody. So you're cutting down the range modifiers where everybody else in the lands because of the C3 system, and then you're heated up, and then you do a kick or something of that nature. And typically it is a kick. You know, you got your primary weapon, you got one in the arm, so you're not likely going to be firing the arm weapon. You're going to be firing weapons, so you're not going to be doing 2 punches with it. So that's pretty much it when it comes to that one. It's just gives you another tool in the toolbox when you're up close with it. And I'm a big fan of kicking stuff, and you know, you get that little extra bonus for kicking. So, and if you got the triple strength going with it, hey, that's a heck of a kick. You know, you're talking, what, 22 points? And a lot of times you can kick somebody's leg off. Like, you look at the leg armor of this mech alone, it's got 26 in it. So you're almost taking all the armor off on one kick. And if it's been hit before a couple times, you might be right into the juicy spots or even kicking a leg off. And I have kicked off a leg of, let's say, a light mech before. You know, you get a Jenner come running by and you're like, oh, hello. I'm going to give you a nice little swift kick in the behind, and it just goes right to the leg up into the torso, and that's a done dinner. And it's like, oh, I left it on the ground. You get the follow-on forces can now tear it to pieces. But that is it. That when it comes to Grim Reaper, it's not a bad design. Its life expectancy when it gets in close, though, is a little shortened due to the fact that it carries around the XL engines. But if you're using it as a primary, as a fire support mech, that isn't so bad of an issue when it comes to the XL. So you can sit back and fire away with it. Now, if you're part of a lance and you got this thing as a, let's say, you're carrying around a mech that's as a medium lance type thing, this makes a good fire support mech also, to kick back and fire out a little distance and let somebody else get in close. But overall, not a bad mech for the price when it comes into it. You know, you're looking at between 1,200 to 1,500 battle value. So there you go. All right, hope you guys like this one. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. This is Hellcrux out.